Hey guys, it's Maria Park, and we are back with our Arrowverse Wednesday, which technically consists of one episode because nothing was new this week except for The Flash. So, The Flash, Season 7, Episode 16. Okay, so a lot happened in this episode. I got my tea. Again, I'm sorry, guys. I'm really congested right now, so I'm not feeling that great. So, bear with me as we roll through this review. As we know, when we left off last week, we figured out that there's a Godspeed attack. There's a civil war going on. There's Godspeed clones everywhere. Barry himself was saved when six Godspeed clones defeated the Godspeed clones that were trying to steal his speed, because it's literally battle royale amongst the Godspeeds. So where this episode picks up, things are more dire because the Godspeed clones now are attacking normal people on the streets and in their homes. So they're literally popping in their houses and they're taking people. Now, I like to nitpick stuff, and I do it because I like to have thorough reviews. So Iris has been missing for a few episodes in that she's mentioned, but we never see her. But for some reason, Barry feels like she's safe back at their loft. My issue with that is that if the Godspeeds are going into people's houses, why are they not going into Barry Allen's house? They know he's a Flash to get his wife. And why is he not concerned about that? So I'm just throwing that out there. But basically, the consensus is that Iris is not feeling well. We learned last week that she's not pregnant, so she can't be pregnant because the test is came back like red, which means negative, I guess. But for some reason in this episode, she is shifting in and out of timelines. And the only thing that's keeping her stable is pretty much the still force, which is really cool because anytime that we have any of the forces do a cameo, I'm here for it. I'm glad they just were not in there for Dion specifically was not just in there to be one of their Barry and Iris's forced children. But I do love how he said mom. He's like, mom was phasing in and out. So at this point, how many children do Iris and Barry have? Because if you think about it, they're having problems starting their own children. Yet eventually they're going to have like 5. All right. So disclaimer. Barry has been having dreams about Nora or excess. He had it last episode. He's having it this episode. And this one, it's more disturbing because she appears to him and says the future is being messed up. Now, I'm interested where they're going with this storyline for the simple reason that, Iris's history. Iris, and I think I've said this a million times, in the comics, she's actually from the future and her parents sent her back in time to save her life. Now, I don't think that they're doing that. They could be going that route. That could be something that Joe himself didn't know, that maybe she was basically born into his daughter's body, or so her soul was born into the daughter or Iris's, newborn body or whatever. That could be something the Arrowverse does. Because, again, Iris West is not actually from their timeline. So if that is something they're doing, I'm cool with it. What more than likely is happening is that she is pregnant, because she's pregnant with twins. And the twins are very interesting. In the comics, the twins have always been basically Dawn and Dawn. Bart and Excess are both the grandchildren of Barry and Iris. So the Tornado twins, which are Dawn and Dawn, both get married and have their own respective families. And Dawn has a little girl named Jenny. And Jenny is actually Excess. So the whole Nora Allen West thing is just a concoction for the Arrowverse. So they've kind of taken Jenny Ognet's identity, which is really cool because she's a future Legionnaire. Her father's from this alien planet. So she's half alien, half human. And they basically have taken that story and I guess tossed it. And instead of Iris having the twins, Dawn and Dawn, they now, for some reason, have their grandkids as their kids, Bart and Jenny. And Jenny and Bart are actually cousins. They are not siblings in the comics. So I always get really interested in where the decision processing of this comes from. And what, I guess maybe in the Arrowverse, they didn't want to confuse people by saying Dawn and Dawn all the time. I don't know. It's just weird. I mean, I love Jenny's storyline in the comics, so it's sad because we aren't going to have Jenny. We're going to have Nora, or we have Nora and Bart being their son. So whatever. We'll just take this. We'll chalk this up as this being another Earth. And like another Earth. Their prime Earth is a different Earth, obviously, than the comic book. So DCEU will probably have it differently. In this version, the Arrowverse, it is obviously a drastically different Earth, which a lot of people will think is prime Earth. So I'm just throwing that out there. It's just interesting because I don't know why the grandkids are now the kids, and that the siblings who are actually, are the cousins are now siblings. And I'm assuming they're twins. I don't know. I don't know if Bart's younger, if we got like an Iris and because we might be doing a Wally Iris thing, even though technically Wally is Iris's nephew in the comics. So like the family dynamic in here is crazy. It's all over the place. But all right. So Iris is phasing in and out of time, possibly because she's carrying 1 to 2 speedsters. Nora, who was actually fading in, when Barry initially saw her, now is not. So I guess whatever happens, the future ends up the way it's supposed to. But Iris is now with Dion until they can figure out why she's phasing in and out and why she's hurting all the time, or why she's sick. So Dion is with Iris. Barry has to deal with what's going on with the Godspeeds. And they do ambush Barry, and they beat the crap out of him while he was evacuating people at City Hall. And he gets internal bleeding. I mean, he gets damaged pretty badly. But I mean, that's the Flash. Unfortunately, he gets beat up a lot, but he has his super fast healing. So eventually, by the time he gets back to Star Labs, most of his injuries are pretty much, on the way of being healed anyway. Side story, Joe and Kristen. If you remember in the last episode, they were in the car. They were checking out Adam, who is the person that basically got out of Kristen's unit killed. And basically he has his pulse rifle and he shot it at their car and it blows up. But before it went off, Kristen recognized the pulse rifle and got Joe and her out of the car. So they were able to get out of the car before it exploded. But that means they had to go, they were running from him in the woods. And he's a mercenary for hire. And he's also an immortal, which is why he doesn't die. He can go in all these situations. He's not going to die. He's literally the ultimate baby's kid. So he is hunting them. And Joe is the one that figures out that he has no idea who he's actually hunting in the woods, because Kristen was the one person that he tried to save back when her unit got killed. And so when he does see her and, they see each other, he says something very interesting. He said, "Kristen, you died in that explosion. How are you here?" Basically, which makes me wonder, what is Kristen? What is happening with that? Another little side note to the comics, if you've read The Flash, Kristen Kramer is actually a former assistant in the lab at CCPD that Barry works for. So she was a forensics lab assistant, just like August Hart was a detective, which is why he becomes Godspeed when his brother gets murdered. He can't get the killer, or the killer gets off or something like that, and he goes crazy and becomes Godspeed. I don't know if that's still going to be the storyline with August in this version, but that's what happens in the comics. So I think it's interesting that also in terms of the relationships, August and Kristen don't know each other from what I can tell. Kristen and Barry don't have the same relationship because, again, she was Barry's personal forensics assistant, and August was a good friend of Barry's because he was a detective at CCPD. So they changed all that too in the Arrowverse. So it's any man's game, or basically any plot could possibly happen here. So, and I'm bringing that up because both of them are in the same episode. I just found it so ironic that they don't know each other. So it's a thing. Or who knows? Maybe next week, Kristen will see August and be like, "I know you," but I don't think that's going to happen. Especially since she's technically not from Central City in this version in the Arrowverse. So just throwing that out there. But anyway, so Kristen and Joe's the one that figures out that Adam doesn't know he's hunting Kristen, or he probably wouldn't be trying to kill them. So when when he catches up to him and she talks, he's like, "Kristen," he starts lowering his gun. And then Joe basically is able to shoot a dampener on his leg, and they're able to, basically capture him. and they talk to him, and that's when Adam talks about he basically says that Kristen is not alive, and like it was such a really quick statement. And Joe does say, what does he mean by that? And she's like, I have no idea. Then they just start talking about the unit that was killed, and he was talking about how all the money that he gets, most of it he gives back to the reservation because people like them aren't treated fairly, which part Native, I get it. But how he's going about it is by killing people and taking on jobs that he knows he can survive. They're, basically deadly because he's immortal. So I want to know what Kristen is. Kristen is very odd. And since they've redone her entire character, she could be a metahuman. She was not a metahuman in the comics, but she could be a meta in this. So I'm really curious to see how this plays out. I'll get back to Godspeed in a minute. So there's a tiny story, which I hate to say tiny. I feel like this entire story with Allegra and Ultraviolet was a millisecond. It's like a millisecond because we just found Ultraviolet. Then she has the surgery. Then she goes after the doctors and the people that funded the doctors to basically torture people like her and create more people, mad scientist experiments on people like her. Allegra says she can't go and help her right now because she's busy helping Team Flash. And it's not until Diggle shows up, and I'll also get into that, where he starts talking about how mission be damned, he's going to help his family first. Family first, everything else second. Which is why I've always loved Diggle. Then she gets a conscience about it, and then tries to find her cousin, who at this point is already gone to try and fight these people alone, even though she's weak from surgery. And she ends up getting basically mortally wounded, and she dies in Allegra's arms and disintegrates. And I'm like, wow, what was the point in having Ultraviolet in this series? Like, why bring Ultraviolet back if she was only going to be around an episode and a half? But you know what? Because Arrowverse. So Allegra is feeling a lot of guilt right now because she didn't help her cousin, who was her family, who she was adamant on helping the past 2 episodes, but kind of brushed her off. And now her cousin is dead. I don't know how that's going to play out in the next episode, but yeah, that's a mess. So yeah, very quick story there. All right. So back to everything going on with Godspeed. So first of all, Diggle shows up in town. Like, he shows up delivering this entropy trap that Cisco was able to make or develop, at Argus, because, he's over the tech department or the tech facility or whatever. And so, of course, Diggle being, pretty much in bed with Argus because of Lila, he was able to get the tech and bring it to Team Flash. And the entropy trap allows them to capture, basically freeze motion at Godspeed while they're running. But what we actually figured out is I don't even think it worked, because technically speaking, they did capture one, but they have artificial speed. So dampeners don't work on them. So basically he caught the Godspeed thinking he was interrogating the Godspeed, but actually the Godspeed was actually interrogating him to see where he lies. And what he's saying is, if we don't kill August Hart, then we are all going to die. And we aren't like the other Godspeed clones. We have intelligence and we don't want to die. So you're either with us or against us. And he was basically feeling out Barry. And when Barry's like, I won't kill even if it's an enemy, he's like, all right, we'll just kill you. But it does remind me a lot of the whole Salvatore, storyline, with it being Barry's clone. That whole story is so reminiscent of that to me for some reason. It's almost the same thing. That version of Barry did not want to die, but blamed Barry for, all the stuff that he went through after losing Iris and just being, just not being a Barry Allen that was welcome. And so he decided that there should be no others, and he's going to make everybody like him. And I feel like the Godspeeds I think they're serious. They really do want to live. But August is a threat. So, which he is. We know August is not a nice person in the comics. So this version of August, they do find, thanks to some research in Nora's diary that Iris was able to, I guess, translate and kind of dig and figure out important spots based on Nora's research on where August would be. And they find him. But this August has memory damage. Like he has parts of his memory that are just so messed up. He didn't even know who he was. And Caitlin was able to like use this like serum with black or dark matter, like to give him a little bit of clarity, but all he remembered was his name, or at least that's what he's saying. Now he could be evil as hell, so he could be lying, but they only got August, heart out of him. So I'm not sure how this is going to play out, but I mean, they feel like if they can get August heart before the other speedsters, then they basically win the war. It's almost like the ultimate game of like the Easter egg hunt. It's like whoever finds the golden egg wins. So August heart is the golden egg. You found August heart, you are essentially the winner. So that's what I'm getting out of this. But I will say the plan that they had, I mean, they were, like I said, going in people's houses, attacking them. And they also emitted this like signal that was blocking all outside communication. So they could not call for help. So everyone in Central City was pretty much in a bubble. And it's messed up. And then I'll get back to the kids in a minute. But my favorite part of the episode is Diggle literally ignoring the call of the Lantern Corp. Like, he's ignoring it. And it is kicking his a-hole. And I'm like, this is your fault. But I love that Cecile was feeling it. And she's like, what is this? This is something else. This is infinite. I'm like, yeah, it's just freaking Latin Corp. This guy found a ring. It chose him. He is ignoring the choosing. And it is kicking his butt. And he literally, I remember in Gotham, he is there to see a neurologist originally. And they found nothing wrong. And apparently the headaches are, I'm thinking like brain attacks are getting worse because they keep saying infinite worlds. We chose you, go to work. It's like the job that won't let you refuse it. So I don't know if Diggle is not going to be a Lantern. He may be. They never have to show him in the suit. He could just accept it and go. And then that would be his way of being, doing cameos or whatever. I don't know. Because again, the DCEU and the Arrowverse are separate. And if we have lanterns, like we have Jade in Stargirl, it doesn't make any sense why we can't have Diggle in, on Prime Earth. So I'm just throwing it out there that eventually I think it's going to have to be a choice he makes because he's never going to find peace unless he does something that renders him unworthy by the ring. But this does make me have hope because he's going to go to Smallville. And the reason that I think he's going to Smallville is not to work with the DOD. I think he's going to go to Smallville to talk to Clark about having a family and being a hero at the same time, being something more than something almost godlike. How do you handle that? Because the one person he could talk to about that is Superman. And he does know Superman's identity because of Crisis. So I'm hoping that is what's going to happen. I don't know, but I do know that he is supposed to be on Superman and Lois. So, and since he even told Barry, I feel like this is something I can't ignore anymore. I need to go and face it, that is something that is going to definitely happen. And there's no better place to introduce a Lantern than on an HBO sponsored show that looks like an HBO Max series. So bigger budget, which means the special effects would be off the chart if he decided to do Lantern. I would be here for it. I would absolutely love for John to finally be the Green Lantern that we wanted him to be the entire time. And again, his real last name is not Diggle. They don't even call him Diggle anymore. They call him John. So he could be Stewart after all. So I think I want to say in Arrow that he actually implied that his father's last name was Stewart, and that Diggle wasn't his last name. I don't know. I have to go back and look at that. It's been a minute. But yeah, it's hard because Lynn also identified her brother as John Stewart and he was in the army. So, and since they're on Prime Earth, her brother can't be Diggle. But the entire bio of how she described her brother in the therapy session was John Stewart's bio. So I don't know. It could be a lot. There could be a lot to that. But I mean, at the end of the day, Diggle found that ring and that ring is not leaving him alone. So he's going to have to deal with it. Okay, so now we're back to like what's going on with Godspeed. So Godspeed's basically Barry initially tried to run the 2049 to check on Nora, which is why we had the whole conversation with Diggle in the first place, put family above whatever, because he was scared about leaving the city during the Civil War and scared about causing another flashpoint. And I do love how Barry was like, you know this better than anyone, because yeah, you effed up his kids. He had a baby girl, and then he had a baby boy. So little baby Sarah was gone, and it's like, that's all because of Barry messing around with Flashpoint. So I get why he was nervous, but Diggle gave him his blessing. But when he tried to go through 2049, the Godspeed zapped him. And I will say it was really funny to me. Like, you had Barry, and then you had like I want to say it was 4 or 5, might have been 6 of these Godspeeds. And he just kept running towards them. It's like when you're going to get in a car crash, you have plenty of time to swerve. He runs right into it. I'm like, why didn't you just go, like, just drop and just slide? Do something. You are the effing Flash. I'm like, why did you run into it and let them hit you? And if Dion hadn't been there, you would have been SOL. But you know what? That's fine. It's all fine. It's fine. It's fine. We do know that our older sister force is the one that is dealing with all of the Godspeed anomalies in the Speed Force, and she's got her hands full. So she's dealing with that while Dion is keeping Iris together. I don't know what the other two are doing, but I'm sure they're helping the sister in some way. But again, so far, I really did enjoy this episode because this episode had a lot going on. I love Cecile being more active. I love that the DOD is actually, I think every organization in the Arrowverse knows about Cecile and her power up, which makes Argus, all of this. How do they all know? I mean, are they just tapping? I guess they probably are, like the brother in the sky. They got cameras everywhere. They're monitoring everything. So that's not really a stretch to me. There's no privacy in comic book land. I don't even know why you even assume that there is. But yeah, I just thought Cecile having a more prominent active role because her empath powers are like increasing. She's able to push her emotions on people. It's pretty cool. I love emotion pushers. It's like, oh, you're happy now. I love that. I absolutely love that. And I want to see how she develops more. Allegra technically got a little bit of a power up. I don't know if she can do it on command, but she got a little bit of a power up that was pretty cool too. So, but I think with her cousin dying, it's going to cause a whole other it's going to have another dynamic to it. And then, of course, there's also Barry. Every time I see Barry, he gets one like demerit from me. And this has to be when he started screaming at Chester to find an alternative to Cisco's tech not working. And he literally just screamed at him. And I'm like, Chester looked at him like, I don't make enough for this. I'm like, yeah, Barry's being an a-hole. Whenever he gets in his feelings, he lashes out at people. And it's so annoying to me, especially for a kid that barely stood up for themselves, and got beat up all the time and had to have Joe and Iris bail him out a lot. He's always in other people's faces. And it's like, Barry, just shut up. I'm going to be real with you guys. I think that one of the reasons that I don't enjoy The Flash as much as some of the other Arrowverse shows is because Barry sometimes gets on my nerves. And this was one of them. I just really wanted to reach in and smack the crap out of him. Instead of you talking about your feelings, because you are the paragon of love, you act like an a-hole. And he did apologize to Chester, but I mean, that should have never happened. And I think that's another reason why Allegra also didn't feel bad about leaving after seeing Barry snap at Chester. She has a crush on Chuck that she probably was like, you know what, I'm out, So yeah, that's a thing. And then, of course, Nora arriving at the end was everybody's favorite, I'm sure. Seeing Nora say, I'm here. And the fact that I'm here means everything is proof that everything works out. And then, of course, she brings in her brother, Bart. And Bart acts just like Barry. I'm like, he's a cross between Barry and Wally in a way. But that's a whole, like, all of that. Like, the whole family dynamic of the West and the Allens are just funny to me. Because none of it is the way it is in the comics. So, yeah. So that is... and basically my review in a nutshell of episode 16. I'm not enjoying season 7 because there are some cool elements. My problems have always been writing issues. So again, yes, Barry's character is written to get on my nerves. I'm just convinced of that. But outside of that, I feel like other things in the series are kind of progressing to at least 2 storylines I'm familiar with, so it's not bad. At least they're introducing people. And again, I think August Hart is either faking or and the serum, or maybe the serum hasn't kicked in all the way, or I mean, there could be a lot of reasons. But if they're going by his bio in the comics, then his brother's death made him a villain and made him power hungry and made him Godspeed. So I don't know if they're going to keep that. I don't know his motivation behind it in Arrowverse. But that's kind of been my problem all along. So it's a thing. Hi, Joe. How are you doing? I saw you pop in. Yes, writing issues in the Arrowverse is like drinking water. Like you need it. You need it to live. So 9 times out of 10, the water is either going to be stale or what. But for some reason, you still need to drink it. That's how I feel about watching Arrowverse shows. For some reason, I still need to see what they're going to do next, even if I think it's crap. So yeah, it's like drinking water. It is like drinking water. Barry's emotions made sense this episode. He was under a lot of stress and pressure. At least he apologized. So I'm a person that has a chronic illness and I don't snap at people. And I've had trauma. I've been widowed and I don't make it a point to take my crap out on other people. And that, I think that bothers me, that people are completely okay with people losing their crap on other people. I do not agree with that at all. I'm sorry. I don't. You deal with your stuff in your own way, but don't take your shiz out on other people because you're in your feelings. That's not okay with me. Barry's kids let out the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers vibes. Bart sure as heck did. He came in posing, so that makes complete sense. I don't know what Ranger he thought. I guess he thought it was the Silver Ranger, the 6th Ranger. I guess that kind of makes sense now. Yeah, that makes sense. I'm glad Nora West Allen is back. Love her. And now she's got her brother Bart. So cool. His intro was funny. It's so weird because they're cousins in the comics. It's so weird. You know, I was okay when they made Jenny into Nora because it's the Arrowverse, and the Arrowverse, it's its own thing. I mean, they've been doing this since day one, to be honest with you. I mean, look at Wally West. I mean, not only is he actually Iris's nephew, he was married to Linda. And Linda, for some reason, was the same age or around the same age as Barry, which is absolutely weird. So all of that stuff, like they just took the comic and they did the opposite. So it's a thing. I don't know. But yeah, every relationship is that way. So it's a thing. It's a thing. What do you think of this season so far? I think I already answered that. Parts of it are okay. Some of it is hard to digest because of the writing. I guess Oliver Queen in Smallville was right. There is a 33.1 all across the globe. I forgot about that. I always think of what kind of show it would be. Because, I mean, technically speaking, if I'm really going to be honest with you, in Smallville, I kind of feel that Green Arrow did not. Well, okay, this is not true. Green Arrow got a really good storyline in Smallville. I feel like Black Canary got effed over in Smallville and did the Arrowverse. I don't know. It's like somebody just looked at Dinah and was like, I don't like your character, so I'm just going to poo on you. So like Canary was like a micro guest star part of the time. And then you see what Laurel was in the Arrowverse. So it's like, why is Black Canary made to be not bad? Well, she was kind of badass in Smallville, but she wasn't with Green Arrow. She was not with Oliver. Oliver ended up with Chloe, which was always an odd choice for me. That was just odd. I could see her with Jimmy Olsen. I always thought it was really weird her being with Arrow. I don't know why. So Smallville, that if I have a critique or criticism on Smallville, which there are a few, that's high on my list. Brainiac's probably another one. That was just a mess. But that whole Chloe Oliver connection was weird. And plus we have a Bart already in Smallville, aka Impulse. Yep. Dawn. I mean, we don't have Dawn. We have Dawn's daughter. Technically not daughter because it's not Jenny. I'm like, and having my homeboy John back for a cameo, hell yeah. Like I said, I am extremely, extremely excited for him finally dealing with the fact that he's not answering the Lantern Corps and the repercussions behind that. So I don't know. I think it's going to be cool. It's a thing. Barry had a daughter named Nora with a lantern, so she's a mix of her too. Yeah, but it's not XS. So it's not the same character. So like when we're talking about XS, that is Jenny. That has only been Jenny. That is Jenny. But they kind of did their own thing. Hey Maria, love the episode. Yeah, the episode was one of the better ones. And I mean, honestly, any episode that has Diggle in it is hard to not be happy about, because out of all of Arrow, Diggle was always my favorite character. I've always loved Diggle. I've loved his journey from beginning to end. I always thought he was a character that got shafted a lot because of him being second fiddle to Oliver, when I really feel like at any time Diggle could have beat the hell out of Oliver. I just always felt that way. I've always felt that way. When Diggle got those visions, was I the one who thought my phone was having a malfunction at first? I thought my screen was being weird because I used that green, like, it's like a lens flare. But then I realized it was mostly always centered, like when he had the Guardian outfit on, it was always around the visor. But yeah, I did look like at parts there was a lens flare in the background, and then there was points where the camera was shaking. It made me sick. So, but I mean, they achieved their point because he's very uncomfortable, and they made us very uncomfortable watching it. So. It's a thing. It is a thing. Comic Barry should run through the multiverse and slap some sense at CW Barry and tell him to fix his timeline. I missed you, Joe. I missed you. Like, a lot. We need to. I'm gonna have to Marco Polo you. We're gonna have to talk about Arrow. I mean, about some Flash stuff. I have questions about. But no, like, I feel like, and like, also, like I said, where they're going with this, let's get back to Iris. So I don't think the CW is doing this. I would be extremely happy if the Arrowverse was doing this, if they were fixing her origin story. If Joe found out that his daughter was stillborn, kind of like in Fate Wing Saga, and future Iris West, her consciousness gets sent to the past and is born into Joe West's, daughter's body. And then the reason that she's shifting in time is because she's actually not in her own timeline. And, basically she eventually is going to have to go back, or maybe something's happened to destabilize her body, or maybe being pregnant with a speedster, or maybe two speedsters, is causing her body to break down. But that would be a very good way to get her back onto, or at least connect her to her comic book origins, by making her actually be from the future. And that's why she's not stabilizing. Maybe Crisis threw something off on her, and the reason we didn't get it is because she was trapped in the Mirrorverse for so long. And so that was already a destabilization issue. And then you got her back and she's reacclimating to Earth, but maybe being in the Mirrorverse threw off whatever made her acclimate to, the present prime Earth timeline. And now her body's going crazy because she's not originally from that timeline either. I would love that. I would effing love that. Will they do that? No, probably not. But I mean, how cool would that be? Do you know how many comic book fans would be excited if they actually had that happen with Iris? I don't want it to be something stupid. I really don't. I don't want it to be like, well, she was in the Mirrorverse, so part of her DNA and part of her cells are just rewriting themselves, and they don't know where to go, and they're not mirror, and they're not Earth, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you know what? I'm like, can't do it. I just can't do it. So I need them. I'm telling the CW writers, which is probably stupid because they've already written and shot this, make it so she's like her comic book origin. She's from the future, and then she went in the Mirrorverse. It destabilized her acclimation to her past timeline, going back in the past from the future. It's thrown everything off, and now her body's trying to return to her future timeline where she originally is from. That would be cool, because that's exactly what freaking happened in the comics. And she got pregnant during Crisis. And I mean, I'm just like, oh, please, please do it. They won't. They won't. It won't happen. They won't. I'm just ranting now, guys. So if you think about it, really, like, if we saw both Nora and Jenny in different times. Yeah, I mean, like I said, the Arrowverse, it's its own Earth. We know this. When they brought, DCU Flash, Ezra Miller, and Crisis for that cameo scene, it already established that these were two different Earths. So everything that happens in their Earth is not going to happen in Arrowverse Earth, which we already know. I don't know. I don't know. The thing with the Arrowverse is they do what they want. But to be fair, the MCU does that too. I mean, they don't do it as drastically, but they change stuff. I mean, obviously. So they have license to do it. It's just interesting when they bring in other characters. Like they'll have characters that were related or characters that were married or, best friends, partners, enemies. And you make them like have no relationship or history or past whatsoever. And it's so weird to me. It is so weird to me. So I don't know. It's a thing, guys. One of the biggest issues with the Flash show is they rely too much on newer content from, say, Joshua Williamson's run or Jeff Johns' run, aka Wally stories, to craft Barry stories, and mostly ignore the thing called the Silver Age. Yes, they do. Yeah, they do. Well, when the Flash first came out, and I saw the actor for Eddie Thawne, I was like, he looks like Barry Allen in the comics. They literally had the guy playing Eddie that looked like Barry, and in all fairness, Caitlin's actress looks very close to traditional Iris West, but I get it. They wanted to have the actor that they wanted, Jesse Martin, for Joe West. So I get why they made, Iris black, because, she could have been black or mixed. It didn't matter. I get it. I understand that. But yeah, they basically morph a lot of different Wally story. I mean, Jesse Quick stories, like a lot of stories from different speedsters, and make them into Barrys. And not only do they make the stories into Barry, they twist the hell out of them. They just twist them. Like Wally's entire life, like all of his motivations, like, Linda and his wife has twins too. Linda was in it for like 2.5 seconds. She was like working, pretty much at Central City's newspaper with Iris. She was only there to be a 5-second love triangle, love interest for Barry, when technically speaking, she would not even been old enough to date Barry. She was with Wally. She's always been with Wally. And so when you look at stuff like that, it's just like, why are you doing that? I'm like, what? Why do you make Wally this less than when Wally is a superior speedster to Barry Allen? And I'm sorry if you guys don't feel it, you just don't know it, because Wally is light years better than Barry Allen. If they had done a Wally West series, I would have been cool with that. If the Flash had been based on Wally's life, I would have been cool with that. But again, it's not. But I absolutely agree. The Silver Age never happened at all in this version of the Flash, which kind of sucks. The DCU kind of taking things from the CW, making their Iris black too. Yeah. I need to look it up. I think she's biracial like me in real life. I have to look at that, because I know the actress. I just got to look at that. But yeah, I don't like the idea of Wally getting sloppy seconds on Linda. It doesn't make any sense at all. Oh, guys. Like, again, I've always had questions about that. And yet, like I said, this is not a shot out. It's not a shot at the characters per se. It is a writing, and it is a basically an entire show development issue. I don't know why they do that. So, who's your favorite speedster? Flash, XS Zoom, RF Kid Flash, or Savitar? Wally West. Like, Wally's just really cool. Wally has proven in the comics to be a very cool speedster, and Barry Allen has proven to be on one of the lower chains of that scale. Okay, now I realize what's happening. The original Nora was split into two people. That's why her speed is pure purple and Bart is yellow-orange. I mean, again, what's so weird about this whole scenario is they can't blame this on Crisis, because Crisis already happened. So this is all a convoluted mess. There's no Flashpoint they can blame this on. No. Nope. I hope these last episodes are good. Yeah. So like, I know that the finale is split into 2 parts. Joe, we need to time it so we can do a collaboration on the next first half, I guess, of The Flash, so we can really talk about it. I've read the Flash comics for years, and Joe is a bigger lover of the Flash than I am, because I love DC, I love Marvel, of course, I love Image, I love Variant, all of the different comic book brands, universes, whatever you want to call them. But I have always been more into Spider-Man. Like I am an encyclopedia on Spider-Man and the Spider-Verse. I love the Spider-Verse. It is kind of sad how much I love the Spider-Verse. And I've always loved Golden Age Spidey and Pete and the Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. As a matter of fact, you can't see it, but, well, yes, you can. I even have official 1989 Mary Jane wedding Barbie. So got really excited about that. And mine came with the official comic issue, the actual wedding issue that was signed by Stan Lee. So big spider nerd is what I'm saying. And I've loved X-Men and X-Force. And, you know, I was really big into like a lot of Image. I love Wildcats. I love Grifter. So I'm into a lot of comics, some really well known, some lesser known, but The Flash is something I did read because I love the concept of super fast. I've always loved super fast heroes. That's why I like Quicksilver. You know, I like Speed, but Wally West is one of the only ones I connected with. I'm gonna be real with you. I liked Wally West. I didn't care for Barry. I didn't care for, you know, Jesse Quick. I didn't care for like any of the other speedsters in the Speed Force that could pop out. I just never cared. I just never really cared for them. So yeah, it's a thing. I always felt like Barry's life was a train wreck in the comics, and it's like watching a speedster from Jerry Springer. That's just me. That is just me. Still running if she hates all memories. It seems like it because she did know things, but hard to tell things she does. What are you talking about? Are you talking about Nora? Bring back my boy Gleek. I know he won't show up, but still, no. I like Jordan already as Bart. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with the actor for Bart. A lot of people thought he looked weird. I didn't have an opinion because I've learned that looking at promotional shots tell me nothing until I see them actually on screen. Because a lot of people were giving Starfire's actress crap in the first season of Titans because they thought, oh, she looks weird, and they had no idea that was literally just something she wore in one scene of the series that was based on the line of work she was doing. So, yeah, I try and wait and see what happens. I feel like the dream Barry had in the episode that aired yesterday was a timeline getting erased. They may flip it to that. It could be. Well, it's interesting because Nora, so she went from disappearing in the dream to be completely okay. And, okay, so first of all, if the timeline is shifting, then Madness, you may be right. That may be her splitting into two people, and that changed the future. And then you wouldn't remember that it's different because it's a brand new timeline. Just like the Paragons didn't realize what was happening until Martian Manhunter came around and said, I'm going to give you your memories back because this is what happened, you know? So I don't know. I have so many theories on that because Crisis on Infinite Earth as a miniseries, I guess you guys know by now I couldn't stand it. And then it has different implications for characters across the Arrowverse. Some are more affected than others. It seemed like Black Lightning got nothing. Nothing changed from Black Lightning whatsoever. Other than the knowledge that it happened, I guess. Supergirl, of course, Lex got more into power. So things altered a little bit in Supergirl. The Flash, technically a little bit, but not a ton. Superman and Lois, drastic changes, but they have no memory of only having one kid, which is still bothering me to this day. It's like, how do you remember Lex and all the stuff he did in Crisis, but you don't remember you had a baby, one single baby? I don't understand that at all. So like, that's weird. Batwoman, literally, we only got an extra Beth who was from another Earth. That's literally the only change we had there. So yeah, it's weird. It's very, very weird. I thought that Nora was astral projecting her consciousness into the past, but that was debunked by her arrival. Yeah. The season of Titans, I can't wait for this season. Yeah, I need to catch up. I really do. What was your opinion on Batwoman? It wasn't the best, but people I felt were dragging it so much. I did a whole review on Batwoman, and this is Arrowverse Wednesday, so we can talk about that because this is a broad Arrowverse time for us. As long as I don't go crazy over like an hour or two, then it should be fine. But Batwoman has potential. As a minority, I try to support Ryan Wilder's character, and I said this in previous reviews, and I know people get in their feelings when I say this. I've actually been accused, believe it or not, of being racist against Black people when I am half Black. So that's very interesting to me because I said I don't support Ryan Wilder anymore. So, like I said, people getting their feelings about imaginary content. It is what it is. Trolls are going to be trolls. I honestly don't give a shit, but I'm just saying it's interesting. But for me, the writing on Batwoman is actually worse than the writing currently on The Flash. They have good characters, but they don't know what the hell to do with them. Sophie right now is a character that's sitting in limbo because she has no job. She's not a Crow anymore. I don't know what she does when she's not helping Team Bat or Team Ryan or whatever we're doing now, because she has no life. She has no partner. She has no job. Her family doesn't live there. I don't know what the hell happened to her sister that was in the show, but we don't know where she is now. Sophie is just there to hang in the side wings until they can figure out what to do with her. Ryan Wilder should have been amazing. She is the first Black female lead Bat anything. She is Batwoman, but she only has clout. She only has basically privilege. And I'm saying privilege as in terms of her life. She only has what she has because they gave her Kate Kane's life. They gave her her apartment. She's a manager of her bar. She has her bat cowl. She has her best friend and sister as her family. And pretty soon she'll have her girlfriend. Nothing that Ryan achieved was based on Ryan's merits, Ryan's skills, Ryan's anything. Everything that made Ryan Wilder improve was because she took it from Kate. And then Kate came back and then told her it was okay. And then we get this long speech about how she deserves to be Batwoman. But I'm like, of course she does, because she's Black cat, basically the Black Kate Kane. I don't know who Ryan Wilder is. That is my whole problem with that series. Excellent potential for a character that they just took a shit on. And that's basically how I feel about that. And on top of that, I'm in my feelings on the fact that her character bio was she is a former drug runner. Then she wasn't a former drug runner. Then she was framed by the Crows. But no, actually, my girlfriend was doing drugs and I decided to take them out of the house. And instead of dumping them down the toilet and flushing them like a normal person, I went running around the streets and the Crows caught me carrying drugs. It's illegal to carry drugs on your person. So you got caught in possession of drugs. You were not framed. You were arrested validly. It was a valid arrest. They did not plant drugs on you. Your stupid butt was running around carrying drugs. I'm sorry. No matter how people come at that situation, I will go back to the whole conversation she had when she talks about what she did with Ryan. They made it seem like she was driving the getaway car and she got no. She got arrested because she was carrying drugs that she stole from Angelique while she was asleep because she got tired of her using and didn't drop him down the toilet. Just ran around the streets of Gotham. What did you think was going to happen? So now the writing is sloppy and it's stupid. And I just have issues with it. I do. And again, it has so much potential. Ryan is not a bad character. She's just not a character. She's Black Kate Kane. That's it. That is it. Outside of her living in a van and having the desert road as a plant, there really wasn't much about her. I'm sorry. There was nothing that made me say, you are my role model. It's just what it is. So yeah, that is my problem with Batwoman as a whole. Now, Batwing, the suit looks good. I'm excited to see if we get the Luke Fox that we have in the comics. Batwing would be very cool. I'm seeing a little bit of the attitude change, especially since he almost died and was brought back and he didn't want to be brought back. The whole interaction with Diggle, the whole, him going after Agent Teabag during the poker game, all of that I liked. But I'm sorry, I can't subscribe. And I said it, I can't subscribe to Ryan anymore. It's just what it is. That is my opinion. Anybody else can have their own opinion. It is a free country. It is what it is, but it's a thing. It is a thing. So that is my response on that. I'm still here, by the way, just eating pancakes. I keep forgetting in Japan it's morning. Good morning, Joe. And the CW, nobody needed a job. They still get a great studio apartment that they can never have afforded. I to this date, not even Arrowverse, it is literally CW shows. You can lose everything you have, but you still have, like you said, a penthouse. You have the same car. You're able to eat. You pay for gas. Your lights are still on. It is not the real world in the CW. It never will be. Is Ryan better in the comics, or are they written the same? So Ryan is not. So she is a character that was made up by the CW or Arrowverse, and so they put her in the comics. But from what I can tell, she's put in the situations where she has backstory with Barbara Gordon, but not much else. So I mean, like I said, there's nothing to Ryan. There's nothing to her. There's just not. I think all that just means Ryan will have to prove herself even more next season. I just feel like she needs to have a life of her own and not basically. I feel like she shouldn't be living in somebody else's shadow, in somebody else's life. Ryan has nothing of her own. She just has nothing. Superman and Lois is literally the best CW show. Some things I don't understand on the show. Is this in the future? But other than that, the show is better than all shows. Flash is finally picking up. I agree. Superman and Lois is probably number one on my list, except I really, really do like Stargirl. And I think when Stargirl comes back, it's going to be very interesting. Deep breaths. I'm breathing. When I heard Poison Ivy, I immediately thought of Uma Thurman's Poison Ivy and the Poison Ivy from Gotham. Yeah, or the Poison Ivy from the Harley Quinn cartoon. That would be cool too. I would love to have a smart ass Ivy. It would be cool. I think the writers need to prove themselves next season. I think they need new writers. They need a new writer. They need a new showrunner or producer. For an LGBT themed show, it's probably one of the worst LGBT shows that I've seen in terms of representation, because it's just all over the place. Look, my little queer minority self does not give the gold star to Batwoman. I'm sorry, I don't. And I tried. If you go and look at some of my earlier reviews, I have tried very hard, but it became more and more apparent to me that we were never going to know the real Ryan Wilder. We were just going to have her become Kate Kane, to the point where she's like, I'm out there taking risks. I'm in the suit. I'm like, you're in another woman's suit. You took over her life. You live in her apartment. You work at her job, the bar she owns. Everything about your current life is because of Kate Kane. That is the sad part. It's so sad to me that you have nothing outside of Kate Kane stuff. Why? True, Stargirl was really good. Yes, I'm very into Stargirl, so I'm excited because it's coming out in August. So I'm really, really hoping that the writing does not get the CW Arrowverse treatment, because they didn't originally have Arrowverse CW writers. I'm hoping they still don't. I really hope they don't, because once they cross over, they can't come back. It's going to get weird really quickly. But Jakeem and Thunder look cool. They have Jade. I mean, there's so many things, the shade, everything about Stargirl I'm excited about. So I'm super excited for the premiere. I think it's going to be amazing. I don't know. It's going to be a thing. Is it me, or did you stop watching Supergirl? They stopped airing Supergirl. It's on break because the CW does this crazy habit of rotating their shows out because they can't figure out when to air them. Because they keep, and then they don't announce it. So they will take one and then they'll throw it out and they're like, okay, you're on break. And then they'll take one after 3 episodes. They're on break. And before you know it, you forgot what the heck was going on in these shows because they've been gone so long. So Supergirl's been gone for a minute. And we have Legends of Tomorrow. I think Legends took its place. No, Superman and Lois took its place. And so when they go on break again for the year, I guess Supergirl will come back. It's crazy because Batwoman's supposed to come back in October, which I thought was really short span. Normally, I was thinking January or February. So yeah, it's a thing. Hi, Nicholas. I'm sorry, my allergies are now causing me to die. I have been fighting this for going on 5 weeks. I can't breathe here. I need to move. Arrowverse to me is just all over the place. Yes, it always has been. It always will be. It always will be, unfortunately. Like now they're rebuilding the whole Arrowverse. But I don't know with what. That's what's worrying me. Like their Justice League is non-existent. It just doesn't exist anymore. They can't just have Superman, Barry, or the Flash, and White Canary as the only 3 members, because Supergirl is going off the air, which means we probably won't have Martian Manhunter unless he does cameos. Black Lightning would need to do cameos. Supergirl would need to do cameos. Like Kate Kane's gone. Oh, she's off looking for Batman. What happens when she finds Batman? What happens when he comes back and he's like, so I own this cave and I own this tech. This is my money. So unless you want to write me a check, I'm taking my stuff back. It's a thing. I guess I don't want Supergirl and Superman to overshadow each other. That's why they take turns. I really think it's because they have so many other shows on other nights. Like they have this All American show that one of my friends watch, and apparently they have a spinoff coming. When you have all of these other shows that you continuously air, like we have Charmed, we're getting Roswell, New Mexico back. I think they're even rotating that. I think I have to look at the day. Don't quote me on that, but I know that Charmed is coming up to the end. We have 1 or 2 episodes to the finale. Roswell starts in 2 weeks, I think. So, I mean, it is all over the place. And I don't know who does their scheduling. And then COVID didn't help either, because COVID messed up a lot of people's schedules. So I would like to blame COVID solely, but they've been doing this pre-COVID. So I don't know who does their scheduling. It's very weird. Do you think Laurel Lance 2 would be joining the Legends in the future? Black Siren? I would not be opposed to it. The CW Arrowverse also has the habit of making villains into superheroes for no reason. So, like Killer Frost. I don't know. Because I thought initially that Green Arrow and the Canaries was going to be picked up, and then when they said no to that, then they said no to Painkiller, which is still stupid. They've left that so open-ended. It's so weird to me. It's so weird to me how I feel like Painkiller would have done really, really well. I have no idea why they chose to not renew that show or not to pick up that show. I mean, yeah, we're getting, Naomi, we're getting a bunch of other stuff, but I feel like it's all over the place. I don't know where they're going with it. It's weird. Have you given up on Batwoman, or are you still going to watch season 3? I always review the first 3 episodes of every show and every season. If by episode 3 I don't like what Batwoman's doing, I don't know. I probably won't. I'm not going to say right. I can't say right now. We haven't seen it. And I don't watch Batwoman for Ryan. I'm going to be real with you. I watch Batwoman for the side characters because I'm more interested in them. And that's just the truth. I'm more interested in what's going on with Mary and Luke and everyone, and even, Sophie. I really want them to bring Julia back because I feel like she's such an abused character in this series. But yeah, I don't watch it for her. So depends what's going on with season 3. Eric Wallace said he wants to bring Black Lightning to an episode. He should. I want a Diggle show as Green Lantern, but writers would ruin it. Oh, I do not want them handling Green Lantern. No, I want him to have cameos. I do not ever want, and they better not ever bring, and I mean ever, bring Jessica Cruz into that. I will be so mad. Superman and Lois, remember both timelines. They probably just don't think it's relevant to mention unless they want to make Jordan feel insecure that he wasn't originally meant to exist. I don't know. I feel like they don't. Like her miscarriage with the daughter. Like she had a baby, and I thought it was actually before they were born. It could have been after. Don't quote me on that. But we never saw her get the announcement of being pregnant. We saw the being announced of being pregnant with the twins. We never got anything about her being pregnant with the daughter. The problem that I have is that they're trying to go against Crisis. If they had never done Crisis, Superman and Lois wouldn't have to deal and contend with all this crap. This would have been an organic story about them having twins. For all of us who know Prime Superboy is Jonathan, it would have been, it's still weird sometimes to know that Jordan, who I foresee as Brightburn, is Superboy, a future Superboy. But again, it is what it is. It is what it is. But it's just, I feel like it's so weird. It's just so weird to me. Like, all of it is weird to me. Crisis made everything weird. Perhaps it'll be a case of CW cancels everything and tells everyone to go to HBO Max. That could happen, actually. I think Green Arrow and the Canaries could be a storyline on Legends. They said they want to tell it in some way, and I heard that it's being pitched to HBO Max. I mean, I would rather they redo Green Arrow on HBO Max and claim it to be DCEU and have Black Canary represented correctly and, have Speedy represent. I want to see Speedy on heroin. I know that sounds messed up. I want that whole effed up storyline. I want to have all of it accurate. I want Oliver to be on the island the entire 5 years without having literally a pass to go to Russia and China and all these other places. And I want him to be completely alone without having a trillion people visit him on this island in the middle of nowhere that nobody knows about, that's isolated. I like Crisis, but they made Crisis harder for them. They did. They really did. Honestly, I'm thinking about writing a Charm fanfic with the children of Max Franklin tried to save the world from Vera Vaughn and Epic Mess by giving some guidelines to magic and actual development. And less plot holes. I get that. Painkiller is being pitched to HBO Max. So if they're being pitched to HBO Max, then maybe they should have been pitched to HBO Max from the jump. I'm just throwing it out there. I kind of feel like Stargirl should have been on HBO Max. I really do. I know a lot of people probably aren't subscribed to HBO Max, but I really feel like it would have done really well. And storylines and stable character growth. Yeah, I can see that. All right, guys. It is over an hour. I love you. But my sinuses don't love anyone, including me. So we have to go because now it's getting harder and harder to breathe. And I don't know what is triggering it in this room more, but I have to go. If you have questions for me, please put it in the comments below. Jermaine, I don't know what you just asked me about W. Earp. I know you probably asked me something about Winona Earp. Put it in the comments and I'll answer it. Last question. Hurry with your question, Madness. I am going to be watching Resident Evil, the animated series, because I've had that in my queue for a while. And that is one I've been really excited to watch. An Atypical season 4, I'm also going to watch, but I'm probably not going to do a review on that until Monday or Tuesday because this weekend is my spouse's birthday. It's actually on Sunday, and we celebrate for 3 days, the entire weekend. So Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. You will get a video from me on Friday, but outside of that, I will not be online at all. So just putting that out there, guys, that is what's going to happen. But I'm going to try and get my Resident Evil and Owl House out on Saturday morning. And then I will be gone. I'm sorry, my voice is going. No, I have not watched Benedict's Society yet. As I just said, I have lots of stuff that I'm trying to watch and catch up on. I'm just literally started trying to finish season 3 of Manifest, and I've been trying to watch that show forever, and I don't even review it. But all right. Have a very good day. If it is day for you, have a good day. If it is evening for you, have a very good night. Again, if you have a question about Winona Earp, I'm not sure why. I haven't finished the series. I have 1 episode left, which is why I haven't reviewed it. So if that's the question, that is the answer. But outside of that, guys, love you. And I will see you in our Saturday Owl House, either stream or video. And then, of course, I will do my best to try and get Resident Evil, my review for that. Non-spoiler review done for that as well.